Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about how to attract, engage, and retain clients to your veterinary hospital using digital marketing. My name is Brandon Brashears. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to build systems, specifically through the use of marketing assistants and virtual assistants to help grow your practice. So this episode is perfect for somebody who is super busy. You wish you had more time. You wish you had more systems in place, and you wish that you could get more done, especially when it came to marketing. So if you say to yourself, I know I should be doing this, but you're not doing something, and if you think that would drive revenue or make your life easier, make your life better, this is going to be really, really helpful for you. So before we begin, I want to mention just a couple of things. First, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast from. Second, I would like to mention this episode is being sponsored by two websites by Brad Haven. We have usedvetequipment.com and newvetequipment.com. You can save money when you buy used veterinary equipment, everything from cages, kennels, pumps, x-ray equipment, lasers, ultrasound, dental equipment, surgery equipment, lab equipment from Baxis, IDEX, and Heska, tables, tubs, and sinks, vet trucks, and vet boxes. What do you have to sell? At usedvetequipment.com, they bring the buyer and seller together. Also, if you're looking for new veterinary equipment with amazing warranties, check out newvetequipment.com, where we show you the price up front. You get digital x-ray equipment, dental x-ray equipment, ultrasound equipment, LED surgery lighting, surgery tables, autoclaves. At newvetequipment.com, you'll clearly see the price on every item for sale, and you'll be able to check out the warranties so that you can buy without regret. At newvetequipment.com, we show you the price and give you a great warranty. Awesome. Let's get into today's episode. So for today, we're talking to Tobe Brockner from Ketuva.com. He's one of the co-founders of Ketuva. And I found Tobe, I can't remember how we got connected on Facebook, but he posted about his company, Ketuva, and what they were doing. And I just so happens I had a big need for tons of stuff in my own company. I'm working really hard on delivering a lot of new cool content and training. And part of that is, there's two parts to my business, right? Fulfillment of services, running ads for veterinary hospitals and helping veterinary hospitals grow their practices. And then also working on this podcast and the content on the back end that goes into this. And so I reached out to Tobe, and he helped me to get a virtual assistant set up. And I went through his 6-week training program that he has and that he talks about. And if you want to go to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/assistant, you can check it out. It'll take you there. So that's veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/assistant. But, met through Tobe and the process that he has in onboarding and helping you to really get great communication set up, great system set up so that you're going to be successful. I really can't recommend this enough. So if you are interested, again, veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/assistant. But without further ado, here's my interview with Tobe, where we talk about how to use a virtual assistant to market and grow. All right. So in this week's episode, we have Tobe Brockner. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Tobe. I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
So pretty cool. We got connected to you because I'm actually using Ketuva and your virtual assistant, and she's actually going to be the one editing this podcast. So that is kind of cool, actually.
We'll have to make sure we say nice things about her then.
It's Janelle. Thank you so much, Janelle, for getting this done. But let's talk about, first off, who you are and how you got started kind of in the world of digital marketing and things.
Yeah, so I live in Boise, Idaho. I actually grew up in Louisiana and moved up here in 1998. So I consider myself an Idahoan now, and will probably die here, hopefully. Really love it. But I went to Boise State. I got a degree in international business because I can speak fluent Spanish and didn't have to take the classes. That was the sole forethought I gave into choosing my major. But I was always really drawn to marketing. That was always kind of my thing. And so, I graduated in December of 2002 from Boise State, and I started a marketing company in August of 2003. I was working as an intern at a financial advisory place, and really just kind of fell in love with I didn't like the work, but I did like finding new clients. That was always kind of gave me a thrill. I was working straight commission, so it was do that or starve. So I kind of had to get good at it really fast. And I built started my first marketing company, basically selling leads to insurance agents and financial advisors. That was kind of our gig. and did that for a long time until about 2014 when my partners and I had some philosophical differences on the direction of the business, where it should go. I thought we should move more into the digital space. This was before really Facebook was getting heavy into ads. I don't even know if Facebook groups existed at the time, but Twitter had just rolled out a new ad platform, and Google was ramping up their ads campaign platform. So I was kind of just seeing everything move to social media, online, digital marketing, and that was where I thought we should go. My partners were basically like, why are we rocking the boat? We're making a ton of money doing this with a call center. And I just saw the writing on the wall. Within 2 years of me leaving, that business went under because everybody started moving online.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I was. So I built we called it a creative agency. It wasn't necessarily a marketing agency, although that was a big part of it. But we built websites and we did logo design and we did ad campaigns and all the creative stuff. We helped people set up podcasts and YouTube channels and all those things. So ran that for about until about 2018 or so. I had about 10 employees at the time. For some reason, they thought it was a democracy at that business. And at best, it was a benevolent dictatorship. And they couldn't understand that I was the one that was going to be calling the shots. And while I valued their input, at the end of the day, it was my money and business on the line, not theirs. And so I started looking for ways to, how do I replace what I'm doing? I just kind of got sick of running this business with all these employees. My payroll was running about $40,000 to $45,000 a month. And I just was getting sick of it. So I basically fired everybody, but I was still having to deliver on creative work. I'm not a designer. I don't do any of the creative stuff. So I was looking at hiring a virtual assistant from the Philippines to kind of step in and do that. And I found a graphic designer who could help me with the creative. And then it just sort of grew from there. I made a lot of mistakes in hiring. The graphic designer I hired, he actually stuck with me for about 5 years until he moved on to a corporate position. But I made a lot of mistakes hiring people, failed multiple times, didn't know what I was doing. And over the course of time, just sort of established this program, this consistent system for hiring, training, and managing these virtual assistants. And that's where when I started looking at other business owners, I realized that the need was very great, that they were in the same boat. They couldn't afford to, or they didn't want to hire somebody local. It was maybe cost prohibitive, or they just didn't think that they would be able to manage that person. And so I started teaching people how to hire virtual assistants for the Philippines. And that's kind of where Katuba was born.
Very cool. So can you kind of describe what, in your opinion, is a virtual assistant, and just as for people who aren't familiar with that, and also the kinds of things that you have them do?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the first time I ever ran across the phrase virtual assistant was probably in Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Work Week. I think a lot of us in the marketing space who are kind of running freelance marketing agencies or small marketing agencies, we all sort of look to that book as this dream. Oh, I can create this product that sells itself online, and I can have a virtual assistant from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Vietnam or Philippines run it for me. It was very seductive. And I even, that was back in 2007. I mean, I had even experimented with hiring virtual assistants from those countries to come in and do various tasks for me. So they were bookkeeping, even a lot of creative work. So like a lot of graphic design. So all of our social media posts and everything, our videos, they were created by virtual assistants. But you can have them do pretty much anything you need them to do. A lot of the tasks that we have our virtual assistants do now are even on the admin side. So screening emails and managing calendars, organizing a CRM, building out all the back-end workflows on a CRM, for example. So I have when somebody schedules a call with me, there's a whole series of things that happen on the back end, and my virtual assistant, Jelly is her name, along with another virtual assistant, my main VA, her name is Mylene. They built that together for me and basically said, here's a series of emails. We need you to write them. and I just wrote the emails and they plugged them in and turned the automations on. And now I don't have to touch it. It saves me hours and hours of time, which is the goal. That's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to buy our time back. So when you think about all the little things that you do every single day, when you isolate them and look at them individually, they don't seem to be that big of a deal. You spend 15 minutes a day on email, or you spend an hour a week managing your social media, which most people spend way more than that. But even an hour a week, you do that week in and week out for a full year. That's over 50 hours a year that you're spending on just publishing stuff to your social media. So you divide that by even a 10-hour workday, you basically are saving yourself an entire work week by not having to do that work. And so you start to think to yourself, well, what could I do with that extra 50 hours every year? I could go on vacation, or I could spend more time with my family, or I could do more high value things like meeting with potential clients or customers or whatever. And so there's all these things that you could be doing that you're not doing probably, or you're not doing as well as you could, simply because you don't have the time and you're bogged down in the sort of day-to-day minutia of all of these different tasks. And then you think about, well, I could hire a VA to come in and do that for less than $8 an hour. All of a sudden, hiring a VA from overseas doesn't seem so crazy, where it used to be that was sort of novel and everybody was like, there's no way that would work or whatever. But the world has shrunk down a lot, and I mean, we can literally instantly communicate with someone in the Philippines. I can pay them through PayPal instantaneously. They can send me files almost instantaneously through the internet. It's just a really amazing time that we're living in.
Definitely. That's definitely true. And I don't know about, for veterinary hospitals, what kind of admin tasks they do, but I'm sure that because I've never worked in a practice, but my audience obviously works in practice. So I'm sure there's just a million things that they could be using VAs for. But from a marketing perspective, like, I know that almost every veterinary hospital has a list of things they know they should be doing, and they just don't get them done, whether it's sending out emails or repurposing content. Or, I mean, if you had a Facebook post, you could have your VA go put that into ChatGPT, make a Google business profile post for you. Or, I mean, especially with ChatGPT now, you can rewrite content that you've done. And for the most part, I've seen the Philippine virtual assistants are really high quality because they are almost native speakers. There's definitely a little bit of, it's just really, really high quality work that gets done. And is that why you chose the Philippines? Because I've heard that they have, I mean, culturally very similar, like movies and things that are in the US are also playing in the Philippines and things like that. So why did you choose the Philippines versus other, like
there's
India?
A variety of reasons. I mean, I've hired virtual assistants from all over the world, from India and Pakistan to, like I said, Vietnam, Bangladesh, even Peru, Bolivia, Eastern Europe, in the former Russian Soviet Union, from Ukraine or Lithuania or various places. I always would go back to the Philippines. And the main reason is just because the culture there is so different than everywhere else in the world. The people there are super kind. They're very ambitious and loyal. They crave stability over almost anything else. And if you show them that you will be loyal to them and that you will treat them right, they'll stay with you forever. And they are always anxious to work. Their quality of output is exceptional. Their English, that's the second language in the Philippines. Filipino is the national language. It used to be called Tagalog, and they changed it to the national language. Now it's Filipino. But almost everybody there speaks great English. They understand it. They grew up watching American television and movies, so it's they get the slang even, and it's kind of funny hearing them say things like "What's up, yo?" and stuff. Just teasing them, that kind of a thing, keeping it light and fun. But it's indescribable, the amount of value that they're always willing to bring to the table. There was a interview process that we have for when we hire VAs for our clients. And one of the VAs that we were hiring one time, her name is Lady Lee. We were placing her with a client, and he had already made the decision to hire her. So we were doing our onboarding call. When we were doing the calls with her before, it was always in her background. You could see her house, and they work from home most of the time, and you could see her house in the background. She was working like kitchen table or whatever. And then, but on the onboarding call, when she got on, we noticed that in the background there was kind of on the side there was this bed with a railing up and an IV bag hanging down. Like it was obviously she was in like a hospital room. And we got on, and I was like, "Hey, so Lady Lee, what's going on? Like, why are you in a hospital?" And she's like, "Oh, my daughter had some sort of allergic reaction. We had to take her to the emergency room last night. They're doing some tests and trying to clear up her lungs and all these different things. But I didn't want to miss the call and leave a bad impression. And I was just like, hey, we'll stop here. We'll reschedule. No big deal. Go sit with your daughter and, family first. Take care of that. That's the important thing." But it just struck me how crazy that was, that she was willing to do that to not make a bad impression. That was the sole reason, because she was like, this job is important to me. I want to show up and be professional and make sure that they know that I can be relied upon. And that was just a huge thing, and really speaks to the character. If I had to point to one story in an arsenal of stories that I have about these people, that's the one I trot out the most, because it really just encompasses what Filipino culture is all about.
Very cool. Yeah, that's been my experience too. It's just really, really great work ethic and very dependable. And so that's really cool. And I've been going through your 6-week process of onboarding. So first off, I've hired VAs through Upwork in the past. It wasn't Upwork at the time, but the alternative is to go to a site. Can't remember even the sites now, but you just get flooded. I remember I got something like 200 applications when I did that. And so just hoping and picking, right? Because I didn't really have a system for that yet. But your process is pretty cool. Can you tell us about your process and your onboarding system? Because I think it's really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. We call it Empower Plus. It's like you said, a 6-week program. And as a side note, when we run job ads, we also get about 200 applications. The difference is we weed through all of those, so you don't have to. And that's one of the biggest benefits to going through this Empower Plus program with us. Is the first call that we do is a kickoff call where we try to understand the client's needs and the types of tasks that they're going to have them do. So when you talk about, like, I'm not sure what I'd have veterinarians use them for. I mean, there's a whole slew of different things, anywhere from anything from social media to keeping up with a blog to editing if they run a podcast or a YouTube channel. Again, managing their CRM and building out those workflows and automations. All of those, no matter what business you're in, whether you're a bricklayer or a veterinarian, you need a back-end follow-up system for leads and clients to stimulate referrals and all of those types of things. And the VAs can come in and they can help do all of that kind of stuff. So we try to figure out what are those tasks in that call, that first kickoff call. And we have our clients take a DISC assessment. We have the VAs take a DISC assessment. And then we try to match you up compatibility-wise on the DISC profile, but also the skill sets that you will need for your VA to have. Call number 2 is a series of interview calls from a pre-vetted list of candidates that we found for you. And so if you'll remember, you went through, we basically stacked up 3 interviews back to back to back. They were 20 minutes long. So for an hour, and we recorded them. And you just kind of go in and you try to figure out, are they going to be a good fit for me personality wise? Like, am I going to be able to get along with this person for the next 5 years? Because you already know they're vetted for their skills. You already know that they have the skills that you're going to need, because we've already done that legwork. Once you make your decision on a VA, which one you want, we have call number 3, which is a combination onboarding, training, and managing and communication, we call it. So it's broken up into 3 parts. We do a standard onboarding like you would with any new employee. You give them access to, if you need to give them access to your social media accounts or your Drive or whatever. A lot of clients choose to use the password manager like LastPass or something to let them log into sensitive accounts. I've never actually had to do that. I've never, in 7 years of doing this, I've never had an issue with the VA getting in somewhere where they didn't need to get into or sabotaging anything. But it's always up to the client if they want to do that. And you can do that for a while until you kind of build that trust level up or whatever. But So we do the onboarding, and then the second portion of that call is all about systems and training both our client and the VA on how to work together to build systems and to create a task management system so that they stay busy. The client knows how to give them tasks and projects to make sure that they get done. And then the third part of that call is all about how to communicate and manage your new virtual assistant. I found that this is one of the places where most people fail. They hire a new VA, they've never done it before. They don't really know how to manage them or communicate with them. And so during that third portion of that third call, that's what we teach them how to do. We use another personality assessment that's called the Enneagram. Again, we have the client take the Enneagram, we have the VA take the Enneagram, and we teach them how to communicate with one another based on their Enneagram number and profile. And then calls 4, 5, and 6 are just, we call them over the shoulder. It's basically, we create a task list on call number 3 to work on for the week. And then on call number 4, we review with the VA and with the client. We get on and I ask them, how did it go? Do you need help with anything? Do you need feedback on anything? You know, we're here as a resource to make sure that they're keeping the train on the tracks. And then we do the same thing in call number 5 and the same thing in call number 6. And by the time you get to call number 6, you have hopefully established a very good, solid working relationship with your new virtual assistant, with our assistants, and then you're kind of off and running on your own at that point. So it's a program. I'm really proud of the program we built because it works so far 100% of the time with exactly the way we designed it, and everybody has just been thrilled with the results so far.
It's worked really well for me too, and I know for sure if I had tried to get either a marketing assistant in general or either stateside or virtual assistant, I wouldn't have gone through the steps of understanding DISC assessment and how to communicate with the new people that we'd be hiring and stuff. And so that's been a big help just in terms of figuring out how my communication style, and then also theirs, because that's always a big headache. But the cool thing too is that Janelle has been proficient in making systems, which is so cool because when she sets something up for me, like whether she's helping me to build out a course or publish a podcast, she creates a complete system of here's the SOP for that thing. So then first time she does it, she documents it, it's there. And then if I ever was to replace that, or she was to say, you know what, I'm going to go get a new job like somewhere else, that would just be in place and I would plug a new person in. So every single time she builds an asset, that's a system for me, which is awesome. And it helps.
Yeah, we really harp on that a lot with the VAs when they come in. We're constantly talking to them about every time you do a new task, you need to document the process, and you need to house that process somewhere that you can find it very quickly. So again, like even if Janelle didn't leave, even if she, you just decided she was so busy, you needed to hire another virtual assistant to help, and you wanted that person to take over that task, you're not reinventing the wheel and you're not spending hours and hours training them. They can literally go in, like we have a blogging system that I just went through and recorded myself doing a blog for the first time I did one. I turned that over to Jelly. Jelly watched the video. She had it transcribed, and then she created an SOP, a checklist, step-by-step guide on how to do it, along with the tutorial video that I had created, put that in our Drive section where our training stuff goes. And now I can literally have someone go in there, watch the training, print off the little guide, the checklist, and they're up and running within 20, 30 minutes. They'll know exactly how to publish blogs to our website. And that's pretty amazing if you think about it. Cause I mean, that took me several hours to figure out on my own. But now that I have the system in place for it, I can hand it off in less than a half an hour. So you put in a little bit of time and investment in building the system in the beginning. But the beauty is a lot of the times, like you said, you don't even have to do that because your VA is doing it for you. You just say, hey, here's a task I need you to complete. They go and do it, but then they document themselves doing it so they can create the SOP document. And it's like this little duplicating machine that you plug in an input, and the output is not only is the output done, but the output is replicatable over and over and over again, exactly the way it needs to be done every single time.
Yep, exactly. And so if it's something that either you can do one time and record it, And that's pretty much all marketing. And for veterinarians too, and veterinary hospitals, having, like, let's say you went through and each month you created an email campaign that was weekly, and then you had your virtual assistant go up and set that up for you. You could just reuse that every single year and it'd be set up once. And I think approaching your marketing as marketing systems that you build as assets that are going to work for years to come, it makes the marketing activities ROI increase dramatically because you can reuse those things. And, that's just so much benefit. Plus, I bet too, and when I mentioned I don't know what goes on in practice, I'm sure there's administrative stuff that, like, you could have them build out SOPs for hiring new people and just all kinds of things that, I mean, if it's a project that you want documented and create an SOP around, not just for marketing, but for anything else too, I'm sure that they could help with that.
Well, there should be a system,
training systems or anything.
Yeah. What happens when we bring on a new client? When a new client walks in the door, what happens? You ask 99% of business owners that question, and they will struggle to answer because it's not a system and it's just random freewheeling it every time a new person walks through the doors. But if you had this client experience system that you document, okay, here's what we need to have happen every single time, all of a sudden it becomes a much more consistent experience. I mean, you think about, and this maybe not the best analogy, but if you think about, I remember going to, we were traveling with my kids, and we were, I don't remember where we were going, somewhere in Oregon, I think, and we were tired and hungry, and we were like, where do we need to eat something, and there's like these two restaurants. One is a McDonald's, and one is some random place that we didn't know what it was, and it looked kind of dingy and not great. So we went to McDonald's because we knew what we were going to expect. Whether it's in Oregon or if it's in Russia, the McDonald's are almost exactly the same, and you know what to expect. You have that consistency. And so that I think is a very underrated marketing tool. The client experience, it needs to be consistent every single time. And then you start to look at all of the little touch points along the way. Like, for example, anytime a client refers us someone, we had this happen a while back. We get them a small gift just as a thank you. And so we had a lady, she actually sent us 4 clients in a row. And I had Mylene, my executive VA, I said, we need to figure out a system, a process for what happens when we get a referral. And one of them is, well, let's send them a little gift. And Mylene found a flower shop here in town, in Boise, where I'm at. And this is where this client happens to be as well. She found a flower shop. I told her, here's my budget for the flowers or for the gift. She found several examples, put them in a PowerPoint and sent them over to me. And I said, I want option B. And Mylene's been with me for 2.5 years, so I really trust her a lot. I gave her my credit card. I don't have any issues giving her my credit card information like that. But she took my credit card information. She ordered the flowers. Like, all I had to do, it took me 2 minutes. All I had to do is pick the arrangement that I wanted. But that portion has been actually documented and added to our client experience referral system. And it happens the same way every single time now. And I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to think, is that being done or not? Because it's part of our experience. It's part of our system that is deployed every single time. And that's huge.
Definitely. And that's really good thinking too. I mean, with your practice, if you had a system for people who got new puppies, for example, like you had a different kind of personal touch point that you had automated, or if somebody did euthanasia, for example, and you just sent a little flower arrangement or something, that would make a difference. And I bet there's very few practices that send out like a flower arrangement after euthanasia, and that would just be appreciated like crazy, So
yeah, they would be super thoughtful. But again, it's where you start to identify, okay, what do we want this process to look like? Mm-hmm. What are all the little touch points along the way? And then how do we systemize those touch points? So it could start with the whole thing could be built inside of a CRM, a client relationship management software, where the whole thing gets started with the technician who performed the euthanasia goes into the CRM and tags them as, euthanasia client. And that kicks off a whole series of back-end things that are already pre-built and automated for you, where they get the gift, they get maybe a condolence email of some kind. I don't know, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe you schedule it out 30 days later where the veterinarian gives them a call and they're prompted from the CRM, hey, call and check up on this client, see how they're doing. I can guarantee you hardly any of them are probably doing that either.
Definitely.
So there's you're limited only by your imagination for what you can have these VAs do for you.
Definitely. Well, can you tell us about your 6-week program and how people can get started? I've went through the 6-week program. It's been awesome, and I'm really excited about stuff. So I will probably do a more in-depth training as far as what kind of stuff I have seen out of this and things, and follow up here as I get more systems built. But it's just been amazing. I mean, all the new trainings that are going to be coming out that I'll be mentioning in this podcast will be built by Janelle, and it's not easy stuff either. It's like I didn't have time to figure out how to do this stuff, so I said, figure it out, Janelle, and she went through and did it. So it's awesome. But
Janelle's great and really sharp, and again, we'll take initiative and kind of help see around corners for you. And well, what if we do it this way, or if I can do it that way, kind of thing. And Janelle wasn't always like that. I've known Janelle for a long time. We've had her placed with other clients. And when she came in, she learned really fast, and that's the other kind of benefit to this. But the Empower Plus program, I mean, just some basic information. If your clients wanted to learn more about how to hire a VA and what that Empower Plus program looks like, if you go to our website, kituva.com, there's a menu item tab up at the top that says Empower Plus. Kind of gives a very brief overview of what we break it up into 4 phases. And so it kind of talks about the 4 phases. And then at the bottom, there's a book of call link. So the best way for them to engage with us would just be to book what we call an exploratory call. And it's just sort of an overview of like what they're thinking and where, we can give some ideas on how they could use a VA. And we talk about the pricing and the costs and that sort of thing. So you can hire a VA, either part-time or full-time with us. And that's after you've gone through it's in the middle of going through the Empower Plus program. So you purchase the Empower Plus program, and then you would hire a VA, either part-time or full-time. Part-time VA is $695 a month, full-time $1,350 a month. It works out to be a little less than $8 an hour. And they're every bit as high quality as somebody here in the States locally can do. Anything that doesn't require a sit down face-to-face with a client, you can find a VA to do it. And they'll do just as good work. So, that would be the easiest way, and I'm sure you could probably include a link to the exploratory call.
Put a link in there for sure. But the pricing and how you handle everything, also the benefits that you give the VAs so that they stick around and you attract really high quality employees is really cool. So I definitely encourage everybody to get over there, check it out. I'm certain everybody could use a marketing assistant to be building out stuff that you have been, know you should do, but you don't. So head on over to kituva.com and check them out. So thank you so much for your time, Tobe. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope that we can help lots of your clients, because I think every business on the planet needs a virtual assistant or more.
Me too. I've probably had in several, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I hope this episode was helpful to you. Again, if you're interested, go on over to veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/assistant. That is veterinarymarketingpodcast.com/assistant. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next episode.